All right. So apologize for missing Tuesday. As you can tell, I'm still not 100%. So again, if you guys ever are sick, like, don't even have to worry about emailing me. It's nice if you email me, but if you're sick, you're sick. Go home and stay home, kind of thing. Right. I get it. So I wouldn't be here if I knew I wouldn't be okay being around you guys, but can't record it. Okay. So let's see. Let me get this shared out. I don't have much for today. What I really wanted you guys to focus on for this week, if you recall, if we go back here, week 3 is all about object-oriented programming, just getting back familiar with what OOP is. And if you go out to that link that's provided out there in week 3, this takes you through the OOP stuff that we talked about in INF601. And so really understanding what a class is, inheritance from a class, how to write those out, how functions are pertinent to a given class, and the relation between those. So that's going to be important when we start importing third-party packages. So one of the other main topics that we had this week was dealing with our file organization and APIs. File organization, I think we kind of got most of that straightened away in that, most of your files are all going to be .py files. You're going to submit those through GitHub. You may have a git ignore file, which is going to ignore any configuration files, that kind of stuff. Outside of that, the other thing I wanted to talk about was APIs and have you guys start looking around at different APIs that you could interact with. So for example, say I wanted to interact with my Netflix account, right? So if I just go out to Google and just do a simple Google search of Netflix Python API, I'm going to find something like this Python Netflix package. And this is going to use Netflix's REST API. So a lot of times, most people, when they build APIs anymore, are going to build REST APIs, which means that they build a web interface that you could interact with REST in order to pull information back and forth. Some people will build packages around that for particular languages. For example, this case is going to be Python. So if you go down and look a little bit at the installation, we could do a simple pip install for Python-Netflix. And then you're going to end up setting up some kind of API call like this. And this is pretty common. Doesn't matter what API you work with. You're going to end up having an API key, and you're going to have an API secret that's going to go along with that. Generally a username password type setup scenario. In this case, you set up your auth props, you get tokens, and you set up the auth URL, etc. It's then going to print out saying that you're connected to Netflix. And then at that point, you can do some API calls to gather some information like return a list of the users in your instant queue. You may want to figure out how to add Gabriel Iglesias's Hot and Fluffy to your instant queue. That kind of stuff is stuff that you can do with the Netflix API. All right. Obviously, you may not want to do this, but the idea is that you want to be able to add movies there or do that. Now, you may be pulling for something like this. You may be crunching data from something like IMDb, and you want to go and grab all the 5-star movies that you've seen in the last month or whatever the top 5 are that show out this week. And then you can go out to Netflix and see if they're available on Netflix and then instantly add them to your queue. That's some kind of API project that we're talking about. Again, tons of APIs out there for a bunch of different products. What I want you to do is just this week, go pick one, doesn't matter what it is, and kind of roll through and see if you can get that API to work. See if you can get the most basic information out of it. So whether it's Netflix or maybe you have a Spotify account, and you want to add music to it, something like that, just see if you can interact with that API. There's no homework assignment or nothing like that, but just take the time to practice doing that API. It will make things a whole lot easier for you when we start working with stuff down the road here. Anybody have any questions on that? How about those online? Do you guys have any questions or issues thinking of some API that you can interact with?
No.
How about the Azure API? Can we use that?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so if you got the Azure API for Python, and I believe they have several out there. Yeah, so Azure for Python developers, you can grab that SDK, and then you can start writing out web apps and things like that. Absolutely. Especially since that's right up your alley, Sam.
Okay.
And then you can see here how they're going to use Flask to build out web apps, and then you can deploy those out. So this is great because even what you see here in this little web app section, this is pretty close to what we're going to be doing in this class right here on this web apps part. So being familiar with Azure and deploying your code out there, if you want to practice that, Sam, that's a great idea.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions on APIs? So again, I encourage you to go out and find something that is of interest. That's kind of what I had to open for this class time, which you guys to just kind of play around and find APIs. It's important that you do that. Again, it's not a homework assignment, but if you do it, it's going to make things a whole lot easier for you the rest of the semester. Next week is when we really get into NumPy and SciPy. We'll have a little mini project associated with that. And then there'll be a quiz by the end of the week that just covers NumPy and SciPy. All right. I know it feels like we're moving slow, but it's going to get real fast, real soon. So this is mostly just reminding, getting people caught up, especially where I have a mix of undergrad students and graduate students. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page before we start hitting the heavy packages. Anybody have any questions or concerns at all? Anybody online have any questions or concerns? Was everybody able to get the GitHub student developer pack and PyCharm or Visual Studio, whichever one you chose to use? How about you guys online? Looks like everybody here was able to.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
did have a question.
Yeah.
For Visual Studio, would it be okay if I use my Visual Studio 2019? It's a professional.
Yeah.
It's not the VS Code.
Nope, that's fine. Anything in this class that you want to use as your IDE is perfectly fine. I'm just introducing the concept of different IDEs. But by this point, if you've got one you're comfortable with, absolutely, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Yep. No, fantastic. Thanks, Sam. I saw your link there.
Just trying a few things out.
Yep. Awesome. Like I said, starting next week, we'll really get into the assignments and things like that. This week, I wanted you guys just to go out and explore a little bit with those APIs. Almost everything you'll do in Python is grabbing somebody else's API or somebody else's code, and then you're going to start building your project off of that, right? So just like I said, say the project is going out to IMDb and pulling code. Well, then you would either have to web scrape IMDb and then interact with your Netflix queue in order to combine those two projects together, right? One's to scrape, one's to set up your account to automatically do that. That thought process is really what you're going to need for that final project. All right. Apologize for being ill on Tuesday. The rest of today is really just explore some APIs, see what you can find. And I wanted to give some time for people to ask questions and make sure everybody got the GitHub stuff, as that's going to be pretty important. Starting next week, we need to start running with it. All right. I'll be curious to see what you guys come up with the APIs. I'll probably on Tuesday of next week, if you guys, anybody wants to demo or anything like that, what you found, what you came up with, that'd be awesome. I'm sure Sam will have something there. And if anybody in here wants to come up with something, that'd be great. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good week and just kind of explore. Let's see. Are you okay with us emailing ideas? Yeah, absolutely, Lori. Again, no real homework assignment, but I strongly encourage you to do it because it'll make things easier next week when we start working with NumPy, SciPy. All right. Have a good week.